because my brain works so like a math equation.
Okay. I like it.
Because I'm very like, okay, what's the facts? Like, okay, what do I change to
Yeah.
change this? Like, sometimes it can get so bad that I can only see like in black and white kind of deal. Like, if this happens, this happens. If this happens, that happens. So then now I've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, what if I do this? Like, because I've been good, follow the rules and everything all my life, that now I'm finally in my era where, okay, let me be bad a little bit and
ready to lift off.
Right?
Yeah.
Like let me play around with this. Just like, because let me see what happens. Like, and then kind of just learn from those two.
Of course.
And be like, okay, do I actually like this? Do I not like this? It's like,
are you hearing this, y'all? Are you hearing this? It's okay.
Yes.
People don't feel worthy. They limit themselves and they limit their beliefs, and then they want to please others, which is understandable. When your mom and your dad and your grandparents take care of you and the tribe has sacrificed so much, like, you want them to be happy, and then you got to sit there and say to yourself, like, well, if you do that and they did that and my grandparents did that, and it goes all the way down then it's just like, you know, no one until you were like, I want to break out and I want to be a cycle breaker. That's what that comes up for me when I think about your stories. Like, you're a cycle breaker.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because, like, who else is going to do it? No one else will do it.
We're live. It was funny. Awesome. It was funny. I was actually on this show that never aired. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little butt hurt. Okay, that it never aired. But and then you can see what we can see here too.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, we used to have it on that TV too. But I don't know. It's more tech. I was like, I'm gonna keep it simple. But I was on this podcast and we were talking for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I didn't even know we're already rolling, and they never even gave me a prompt. Or even said like there's no intention set, no prompt, no nothing. So I'm just like, hello, like, and then it got really awkward for a second because I was just like, I wish they would have told me something, like, you know. But I'm super excited to have you on. Where are we at? It's Friday.
Yeah, Friday, end of January.
247, the last day.
It is. February's tomorrow. We
got Jen on the last day of the podcast, and we got connected. Who did we get connected? Who connected us again? What's his name? I am drawing.
I think it was Elijah.
Elijah. Yes. Thank you.
Elijah.
Thank you, because I was literally brain fart. Like, I was like, who was that again? Elijah. You know, shout out Elijah. He wanted to do pickleball, and I totally was like busy, and then he didn't follow back up, and I didn't follow back up, so I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, I haven't heard from him in a while either. So
he's a cool dude. I like Elijah.
Yeah.
So
his funny story is that he found my business card at Coffee Rush,
and he reached out to you.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So it's like so weird. I don't know what it is about Coffee Rush, but Coffee Rush is like my go-to place, and people, I don't know how, always find me there.
Interesting. So Coffee Rush turned into you and Elijah connecting, that turned into you and I getting connected because of him, that turned into now you're here in the studio and we're on the pod. So I'll give our guests some backstory. So we're in Arizona originally. That's where you're from?
Yes.
Yeah.
On the reservation.
Born and raised? Really? Yeah. We're gonna have to get into that. Yeah. Okay. Native American?
Yeah. Full-blooded.
That's awesome. Okay. So Native American, Arizona, teacher, realtor, and let's make moves together. We also love cars. So you want the 34 more than the 35, or do you care?
I am too bougie that I want both.
Dude.
Can I say that? Am I allowed to say that?
Well, there's a book called The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, if you can get it out there. And they say, like, we give an option, like, can I have one or the other? You say both.
Yeah, I want both. I want both of everything all the time.
So do I.
I don't know. I
I
mean,
do too.
I know why, but like,
I know why, but I mean, but they're just different. This is going to be a car segment here for a second. For any of the viewers, listeners out there, if you know, you know, like there's just different experiences.
yeah.
One's more manual, one's more automated. I would say the 35, and actually after our show, we're going to check that out. I told her we would. The 35, definitely more Gran Turismo tech, and now I have the Tesla screen, so you can see like all the gauges at once, which is super cool. And then you have the R modes. But the 34, I don't know. What do you think? I think this is visual, just manual, just.
I just love it. Like, I like everything about it.
Yeah.
Because, like, little bit, like, because I grew up on the reservation, right? Where there's absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And all you do is dream. That's it. So then when I was growing up, that's when all the Fast and the Furious movies started coming up.
Oh.
And my little brother was the one that was obsessed.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a boy thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And being the oldest, I was like, oh, whatever. It's like, I got other responsibilities.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then I got to high school, and some of my classmates were actually like driving some like really nice cars. I mean, they weren't like GTRs or anything like that.
Yeah, but still.
It's the reservation. It's like dirt everywhere, but
Wow.
it was nice. And I was like, oh my God, like, okay, I really like this. So then that's when I started getting into like, actually, no, Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift came out.
Oh.
And then that's when I realized it was the GTR, and I'm like, oh my God, that's what I need. I need that in my life. So
heck yeah.
Yeah, and everyone in my high school thought I was crazy because I was that kid that would like not shut up. Like I would talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Even my report cards would say, talks way too much.
Hey, whatever. I mean, no shame in that, right? And it sounds like because if there's nothing but dirt and dreaming, and then you like all suddenly have, like all these people around you and things happening. I could imagine how it could be like kid in candy store moment, and you could just be like, yes, like,
yeah,
I want to just talk to everyone, and just that's awesome. So, all right, we got to get into this, and so Native Americans, I heard, especially being full blooded, I heard there's like they take care of you. I heard is that a thing? They take care. They don't take like there's certain tribes. I heard like if you're Native American, that like because of the whole thing about like the land and then like the whole gambling thing. I heard that like I have a couple friends that they get like the Native American tribe bought them a car, give them monthly income. Is that what that is?
Yeah. So my tribe doesn't do that because we are the biggest tribe.
Okay.
In Arizona, and we take up like a lot of the land in Arizona as well too.
Okay.
So my tribe doesn't do that at all. They're just like, "Hey, here you go. You're full-blooded Native American. Good luck."
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because I don't know what tribe he is. So Andy, he has a purple GTR R35, and he has a friend that basically we were just talking back and forth. He's like, yeah, he doesn't have the most motivation because the tribe takes care of him, and he gets like 30,000 a year plus he gets a car. Or whatever. And so I wasn't sure if that's the same across the board or what, but
no, I think it really depends on which tribe you're in. Because like side story is when I first got into teaching, I was at a school that I was teaching at, and we were having like I think it was like penny war kind of a deal for leukemia.
Yeah.
And one of my students was Native American. She wasn't Navajo though, but she was Native American.
Yeah.
And she just was like, oh, hey, Miss Bull, like here's, I don't remember, $20, maybe $50. And she's like, I'm going to put it in the penny war.
Okay.
And I'm like, are you sure? Do you really want to do that? Like, that's a big amount of money.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, thank you for donating. Like,
of course.
I love it. It's like, you're so generous. But I was like, are you sure? It's like, because like once you put your money in that box, like you can't get it back.
Okay.
And then she was like, no, I'm sure. Like, I just got paid. And I'm like, what do you mean you just got paid? I was like, you're still in high school.
Yeah.
I was like, we're only like maybe 4 years apart. It's like I'm 4 years older than you.
Yeah, what in the world?
And she's like, no, my tribe paid me, so it's fine. I got my quarterly bonus. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Never mind. All right.
Yeah, go ahead and put that in there then. That's interesting how so I guess depending on how many people are in the tribe or what tribe it is, there's just different things, I guess.
Yeah, I guess like with Salt River, because Salt River is just right there as well too, and they have like 2 really good casinos.
Oh, that probably helps.
Yeah, so it kind of pays
Okay.
whatever tribe it is. But like I said, my tribe is way too big that I don't think my government will ever do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. So I'm curious about the whole, like, just way of life, growing up, like what that looks like. So, like, I can imagine it. Is it just completely 180 compared to then to now? Like,
Yes, it really is because I remember. So I'm the oldest in my family.
okay.
So there is
Me too.
my mom, my dad, me, then my brother, my sister. So there's 5 of us.
Okay.
Um, when I was like younger, technically like when I first started remembering things, I guess you can say.
Mm.
I remember when we lived in dirt. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
we lived in something called a hogan.
Mm-hmm.
A hogan
Mm-hmm.
is like a very traditional house.
Okay.
And the hogan is basically just like one room like this.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna designate that side the kitchen. Here's the
Yeah,
beds. Yeah. Like it's very one room, like nothing too big. And then we have a stove in the middle to keep us warm at night.
Got it. Okay.
So that's about it. The floor was dirt. There was actually like no tiles, no nothing. Like you're on dirt basically.
Wow.
No electricity, no running water, no indoor plumbing, no like everything.
Wow. And this is here in Arizona.
Yeah.
Wow.
And honestly, there's actually still, to this day, there's still some people that live like this.
Wow.
In Arizona on the reservation.
Oh my God.
So yeah, and then we had to, let me see. I went to school, and then when we go to school, like, once again, everything is so dirt. Like, it's just dirt everywhere. Dirt, clay, mud, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the bus would get stuck.
Wow.
And then you can't go to school. And then you're, like, walking into school with, like, dirty shoes. And it's just, it wasn't, when I look back now, I'm like, holy cow, that was a very hard life.
Yeah.
But then in that moment, that was my norm. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
That's
like,
all you really knew.
Yeah. So we didn't have anything. I mean, we would have like a generator to even light the house, but after like 8 o'clock, it's like, okay, turn it off. And now we're sitting in the dark.
Wow.
There's no street lights, no nothing. So first of all, it's really pretty because you can actually see the stars.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I can imagine.
See, like if it's a full moon, you can see the full moon. Like it's really pretty.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, when you grow up like that, you don't realize, holy moly, this is actually a really hard life. So, and then when I used to do my homework, and I'm not even that old.
Yeah, you're not.
Crazy. This is a crazy part. And when I would do my homework, we would actually have to have like kerosene lamps that my grandpa would like have to light up with the oil in it, like, like the old school style.
Yeah.
So, and then when we wanted our pencil sharpened, my dad or my grandpa would have to get like a knife and sharpen it for us and be like, "Oh, here you go."
Oh my.
So it was the craziest thing. So that's how I originally grew up. And I don't think and I didn't really know English. That's the cool part about all this whole thing. I would practice English at school because obviously we had to talk. But then my dad was also like very, very strict with us, saying like, you have to learn your language. You have to know this. You have to know that. And then I would tell my whole day to my dad because obviously I don't shut up at all.
We got a talk on our hands, so no wonder she wanted to be on a podcast now.
I don't know. It was just something interesting for me to do. But yeah, so I would tell my dad and my mom, actually, both my parents, the whole day of my day, basically. And then my dad would just look at me and be like, okay, tell me all of that now in Navajo.
Ooh.
So I'm like, okay, let me think about this. Because there's like some words that don't translate easily from English to Navajo. So, and then finally he'd be like, oh, okay. Or sometimes he'll be like, just to challenge me a little bit, he'd be like, I didn't understand any of that. Can you tell me in Navajo?
Wow, that's amazing. So, I mean, a couple positives. Beautiful at night. No street lights. Don't deal with that. Also, now it's becoming more popular grounding. So you already are good with grounding, and you don't have to think about that at all. But man, in the summers. Oh,
that was brutal.
Dude, you have no release, no reprieve. Like it's always hot day and night. Wow.
Yeah, it was like nothing. Like we had to go play outside. We had to like figure things out on our own. Be like, oh yeah. But at that time too, like environment wise, like we still had rain every single night. Like we still had like monsoon season. It's not like what it is now, where it's like monsoon season's almost not existing.
Yeah.
back then we did have rain like almost every single day.
Okay. So give the viewers and listeners some context. Back then, like, what would you say time frame wise? What year is this?
1995, maybe
Okay.
95. Like, cause
So
I
we're
was,
talking like 20 something,
yeah,
25 years ago, something like
yeah.
that. Wow. That's amazing just thinking about how the weather's changed so much.
Mhm.
Like, because we've been out here for 4 years in Arizona and we've had a decent couple times where we saw a monsoon. But yeah, I mean, like, we just got rain this week.
Mhm.
And I was like, yes, like, oh my God, we haven't had rain since like August,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, it used to like knowing back in the reservation when I was there, it used to rain every single day.
Okay.
Like and the cool thing is like you could actually smell it coming. And
Oh,
you're like, "Oh my god, it's going to rain." And then eventually like probably like 15, 20 minutes later, you can see it rolling in.
wow.
And then
That's
you
beautiful.
can actually like see the rain coming down and it comes closer and closer and closer and
And here it
then
is.
mhm.
Interesting. And then weather-wise, back then, was it also, you think, cooler as well?
Yeah, it was.
A lot cooler,
It
yeah.
was way cooler. Like now it's just way too hot. I mean, like now fast forward to like 2025,
Yeah.
my mom has running water. My mom still lives on the reservation.
Oh, she does.
Hmm.
Okay.
Now we have running water, we have electricity, we
Nice.
have like indoor plumbing, we have a AC, like we have everything now.
The expansion of the house too?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It really depends because when my parents finally were able to get out of the Hogan, they got a trailer, a double wide trailer.
Okay.
So we kind of grew up in that, and she still has that to this day.
Okay.
And she added some extension here and there
Mm.
because my sister wanted, honestly, the main reasons why my sister wanted her own room.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing to think too, like, I would say a liftoff moment from the perspective, because we like to highlight the liftoff moments on the show.
Hmm.
It's like you don't know what you don't know until you know.
Yes.
Without contrast, like, you think that's just life. Like, at
Hmm.
what point did you actually say, hold on, there's more, there's something else, like, and then seeing that and seeing the contrast, like, well, what time, at what point did that come up for you to be like, whoa?
Honestly, I feel like my grandparents did a really good job of instilling that
Oh, really? Okay.
because like I just always remember my parents and my grandparents, they were always like they always used to tell us in Navajo you say it like
Yeah.
like
Ah, okay.
success is upon you.
Interesting.
like
Interesting.
like we would always get lectured, if you want to call it that. We would always get lectured as in like, hey, this is your life, like this is that you can do whatever you want to do, but
Mm-hmm.
don't do it for anyone else. Don't.
Mm.
My grandparents especially would always be like, this is not for me, this is not for anyone else, this is
Mm.
for you. You can go and design whatever you want, however way you want,
I love that.
but you have to do it yourself.
Wow.
And then like just knowing like I guess Navajo history as well too.
Yeah.
With like the long walk that my tribe went through. I mean, like I well, obviously this was like years and years and years because now we're
Yeah.
talking like in the long time ago when
Yeah.
the United States was still trying to become a United States.
Yeah. Okay.
Like my tribe had to go through like the long walk. They had to get forced off the reservation, and they were like enslaved, and
Wow.
they were like starved, and like it just knowing all of that and growing up with all of that, I was
Mm.
like, it was like already like, oh my god, I gotta be better. I gotta be better. It's like because this is not okay. And
Yeah.
then the whole World War II coming up too of how they use Navajo code talkers as well
Mm-hmm.
too, and how like the Navajo language was used to help even like win the war,
Mm.
and like all of that just kind of like was like for me, I was like very motivated by it. I was like, oh my god, I can't just waste my life. Like,
Yeah.
why am I going to do that? And then knowing that my own grandfathers, because
Mhm.
one of my grandfather was in World War II,
Wow.
and he literally traveled all over the world with knowing no English.
Wow.
Like he's gone to Paris, he's gone to Japan, like he knows nothing. And then he's come back to the reservation. And then he just kind of lived out the rest of his life from there. He helped a lot of people too, so that was actually really
That's
encouraging.
amazing.
And then my maternal grandfather, same similar story, but he
Mhm.
went to like Vietnam.
Okay.
So and then they come back, and it's like they still were very true to who they were.
Mm.
And like so for me that's like, oh my god, I can't let have all of that go to waste. Like
Yeah.
what the heck? Like, I come from this very, very strong background. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why not?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. I think that just thinking about the contrast and then you hearing what you heard, living where you lived, and you can almost see the progression from the migration and the starving and then what happened in World War II to then fast forward to more your upbringing. You still didn't have running water. You're living off the land and you're basically in this place where there's no running water and heat and all the things. And then now to be where you're at now, I mean, you're like
I'm living
rich
my dream.
you're like
Basically, right
rich and
now.
famous, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. Cause like I gotta say, like you gotta follow Jen. Follow Jen, check her out. The links will be down below because I watched your stories and I shared your Instagram with my wife and she was like, "Oh my God, she's just so adorable." And then obviously my daughter thinks you're adorable too. She was like,
She's so
this
cute.
is Jordan's doll,"
Yes.
and she wanted to have the Liftoff sign and holding. So shout out Liftoff for sponsoring the show.
So cute.
And she's adorable. And wow, it's interesting to get the backstory now because you see the highlight reels and the clips on social, but you don't really know what you don't know
Yeah.
until you hear it from the behind the scenes. And so, man, so how did you get into, because now you're teaching and you're doing the real estate thing too part-time, like how'd you even like stumble upon or even know like, okay, teaching the thing that you want to do and then real estate, like how did that even come about?
So I usually tell people that I am not supposed to be a teacher at all, because back in like let me see, year wise, maybe 2008, I had this teacher.
Okay.
His name is Mr. Ferry.
Okay.
He was my science teacher, and he was like, "Hey, Generita, I need you to apply to this." And
Okay.
I was like, "Okay, why? What is it?" It's like, "Oh, it's a math camp, blah blah blah." And then I didn't put too much effort into it, and I had to ask for like recommendations, and like he wrote one of my recommendation, and another math teacher wrote my recommendation.
Okay.
And like I said, like you don't know like how bad I guess you have it until you actually leave that environment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I went through that math camp. I went off the reservation when I was 17, went to math camp at ASU, did like a 5-week program,
Yeah.
and just studied math. Do I have to change it? There you go.
Just because, like, you'll see here, it was like all
Oh.
over your face. I'm like, oh, they want to see your face. So I had to.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. So I went to math camp. It was like a 5-week intense math program. Like you live and breathe math every single day.
Okay.
Like 100 problems every night. If you don't get like 80% of it done with a certain percentage, you now have mandatory tutoring. Like it was so bad. But then that's when I first went off the reservation, and I'm like, first of all, it was culture shock because I've never been in a city by myself before.
And this is the first time.
This is a yes and no.
Yes and
first
no?
time on my own.
Okay. Okay. And is this here in Arizona or
Yes, at ASU.
ASU? Okay. Cool.
So I went through that. I finished, and then at the end, I'm like, oh, I actually kind of like this. Like,
Okay.
like I said, if you're in a different environment, like, oh, I can better myself this way. Went through senior year. After senior year, I decided to go back to ASU.
Okay.
And there was some financial problems here and there. It was actually very stressful for especially my mom, because now at that time my mom's a single parent.
Yeah.
So then what happened was somehow something happened, the stars aligned, and I ended up getting my whole school paid for.
Whoa. Congratulations. That's a Liftoff moment. Come on now.
Yeah.
What?
So then I get accepted into ASU, a pre-medical engineering.
What?
And I'm like, oh yeah, we're totally gonna do this.
Yeah.
I go to orientation. I was like, yes, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. And then this is where I kind of probably made a little small mistake, and I'm fine with it because obviously it's my story. I kind of let my mom get to me a little bit, and she was like, I mean, I love my mom. Like,
yeah, of course.
I know she was kind of looking out for me and everything. And she was like, what are you gonna do as a pre-medical engineering on the reservation? There's nothing to do with that. It's like you can't do anything with pre-medical engineering.
Got it.
So then I was like, okay, yeah, she's right. Really thought about it. So then I changed my major to education because I was like, oh, I'll be a teacher.
Okay.
Was that my first choice? Probably not. Like, obviously not.
We're just keeping it real. That was not.
Yeah, it was not my first choice.
Yeah.
So then I kind of started teaching, and then I was like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to teach. Like maybe I'll go to like elementary education.
Okay.
It's like I'll teach like kindergarten or something. Learned really fast that kindergarten's not for me. No, it's not for me at all.
I can imagine the kids are just like, ah, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. So then I kind of was like, okay, what? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So then I got into math and I'm like, oh, I really like math. That's fun. Like, whatever. So then I really got more and more into it, and the more I started to love it even more. And I had a friend who's also Native. Her name is Michael.
Okay.
She's a girl, but she has a boy's name.
Okay.
She was the one that I used to call her my school mom, and I still like talk with her now.
Oh, I love it.
So she was the one that's like, hey, do you realize how good you are at teaching? It's like, I just want you to know that. I'm like, no, it's like, this is just something normal for me. It's like,
yeah, like I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
You do it. So then I graduate from ASU. I start teaching, and then all of a sudden, like, then it finally clicked. Like, I was like, oh my God, all of this makes sense. Like, I love teaching. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I've gotten Teacher of the Year at my last campus.
Wow, congrats.
Like, thanks. It's not really something that it's probably proud of, but I was like, okay, whatever. So, and then like, I got to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, look, I can increase test scores. Like I can I can prepare kids for high school. I can do this because I teach 7th and 8th grade math.
Okay.
So it was really fun, but then COVID hit.
Oh shit. Jeez.
And then that's when I was like, and then I also like turned 30 during that time.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm only 30 years old. Am I supposed to do this for the rest of my life?
Yeah. I'd be thinking the same thing.
I was like, obviously, I'm like, I can't find my way out of a classroom, because I even thought about that. I was like, maybe I'll try to get out of the classroom, do like a math interventionist or something.
Okay.
Like, do something along those lines. But I just felt like I couldn't get out. Like, I just felt stuck.
That's the worst feeling.
So then when COVID hit, it was like a pause for me, because I'm like, am I really going to do this for the rest of my life? Like, I'm only 30 years old.
Yeah.
Like, and I still have a long time to go to even if I even retire.
Yeah.
And then it opened up a whole new box, because now we start thinking about retirement. I'm like, am I even ready to retire? It's like,
what does this look like?
Yeah. I'm like, am I going to just work for the rest of my life? Like, because you hear people be like, oh yeah, they didn't have enough for retirement, so now they have to work at Home Depot. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing to set myself up for the future? Like, I was like, I don't want to be working for the rest of my life.
Good for you. No.
So then I kind of was just like, what do I do? And then that's when I started talking to my boyfriend a little bit more as well too. And he was like, I don't know, go do whatever. It's like, this is the first time you get to choose what you want to do.
Yes.
It's like, you're teaching, you kind of did that for your mom to kind of make her happy. It's like, now you get to choose what you want to do. And then this part is kind of embarrassing, but it is what it is. And that's when, probably somewhere around that time, Selling Sunset also came out.
Okay.
So I honestly thought that was real estate. And I know it's like probably a misconception.
Of course.
So then I was like, and then that's when like the stimulus checks were coming out, and I'm just saving it. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. Like, it's just free money. And I'm like, what if they ask for it back?
I'm just gonna hold on to it, because I don't know what's going on.
Like, I do not know. And I was so scared, because I'm a rule follower.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
you and my wife.
I was like, I cannot like spend this. Like I said, what if they want it back? Like, what if there's like some type, like, I know it's just supposed to be a relief thing. Like, so then finally, like, after probably like a good year of just banking it, I was like, you know what? I got to do something with this money.
Yeah.
I was like, I saved it all. So then I kind of was just like, okay, let's go to real estate school.
Really? You reinvested the stimulus money into real estate? Hey, that's Liftoff. Let's go. Talk about just maximizing that opportunity. That's sick.
Yeah, I mean, I also paid off a lot of debt as well too. So I ended up doing that, and then I was like, oh, let me just go to real estate school. And then I didn't really take it serious as well too for a while. And then finally, when the summer came around, when I wasn't teaching, I was like, okay, I really have to buckle down on this, and I really have to take this serious, because if I don't, now I've wasted so much money.
Of course.
So then I did that, got my real estate license. I passed the state test the first round.
Congrats.
The school test, I don't know how many times. More than 5. I'll just say that.
Keeping it real here.
So then I kind of just went with real estate. And then I kind of just, once again, left it on the back burner.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever. And then it's not until I moved over to EXP And then I was like, oh my God, like, because everything is so technology there and
Mm-hmm.
everything is like so cloud based. And I'm like, wow, I can do this whenever I want, like on my time,
Yeah.
and watch these videos when I want.
Yeah.
And then like, and then if I need,
No.
yeah, it was basically one of those. So then I really buckle down again and be like, okay, because I had mentors that were like, you have to know the contract, you have to know this, you have to know that. So then I was like, okay, if they're telling me that, I should probably learn how to really understand the contract.
Navigate what to do. Yeah.
So once I did that and once I learned like how to find people and know like what clues to look for if they're really wanting to buy real estate, then it just kind of from there was like blew up again.
Wow.
And then because I ended up probably closing, I think 3 deals last year.
Congrats.
And that's just like me still teaching at the same time and doing real estate.
That's huge. Let's go. Liftoff. That's awesome. And 3 deals, depending on the medium home sales price and the commission structure, could be a decent amount of money, right? It's like, oh my God, I can imagine 3 deals is almost a salary, you know, for your teaching job. And so you've been what, not full time, but going more serious at it 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, it's about 2 years.
About 2 years? That's awesome. That's super cool. Though, congratulations on that. And that's how actually we met.
Yeah.
Because of real estate and because of Liftoff Agent that sponsors the show. And I just I don't know, I was drawn to you, and I knew that like you just had a really cool, like your spirit, like your energy, super dope. So I'm like, we got to do something, because I just launched this last year. So I was like, let's get you on the Liftoff experience. And you like cars too. And I like podcast is cool, but I like the idea of experience, because then it's just like, okay, we'll go out in the GTR afterwards, we'll have some fun, we'll get into your story and what you're doing and everything else. And so so that's awesome. Congratulations on that. So now, what's your thoughts? Because I know we already met, you know, before. And when you think about real estate, like, is it something that eventually you're like, all right, eventually I'll just get rid of the teaching gig and just go full-time real estate?
Yeah, that's right now my goal is to stop doing the teaching and go completely real estate, because like for me, I feel like there's always room to better yourself and there's always room to grow. So it's like, okay, if I'm going to be here on this earth for like X amount of time, why not try to reach for the next one? For the next one. Because it's like, okay, I came from dirt. Yeah, no running water, blah, blah, blah. And
literally came from dirt.
Yeah, literally. And then now I'm here. First of all, this is like a dream. I'm like, yay, like I get to live in the city and I get to like.
That's so sick.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And now it's like, okay, what else can I do?
Well, it's interesting that the contrast didn't come up when your mom's like, no, well, like that major, you're going to be here, like that's not going to work. But then you moved to the city anyway. So it's almost like, I'm almost surprised, which it happened the way it did, but why that maybe didn't come up. Like, hey, like I'm not going to live here the whole time. So like, because did your mom expect you to stay?
We are very tightly bound as a family.
Okay.
Because the other part was my grandma was, I like to call her the mob boss. She's not really in the mob. But
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, at the time she was like the one that made the decision for everyone. And the other thing is that my grandma didn't know one English at all.
Wow.
So anytime she had like doctor's appointment or anything, like me and my sister, and sometimes my mom would have to go take her to the doctor's appointment. And then obviously the doctors don't speak English, so we would have to interpret everything from like English to Navajo for her to understand, and the doctors could understand her. So we were very, very close together.
Yeah.
So I think my mom didn't like the fact that, oh yeah, if I move off the reservation, like we can't utilize her, kind of a thing.
Got it.
Which I get, because it's like a wolf pack thing.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I totally get it. And like, I don't blame my mom for thinking that, but it's just like, I just felt like, I've always felt like, oh, okay, what else can I do? Like, what else? There's got to be more to this.
Yeah, for sure. And we're kind of like teasing her right now. We literally, wife gave us homemade sourdough, and it's sitting over there. And I'm like, I know you're looking at it, plus the red Zen tea as well. So you don't worry. Like, you go ahead and dig in if you want. And I think that it's interesting when you think about the perspective of like family, and family is so important. And then you think about community, and community is so important. And so, it's like we have neighbors like right here next to us, and like we don't always talk to our neighbors. And then you have your family, and your family, like your grandmother was like the mob boss, and she was the decision maker, and she was the one that basically made the decisions. And isn't it interesting? Like once like you get into the major city, or you get a cell phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have podcasts, you have books you could read, and then you get this whole other perspective, and it's almost like a conscious shift.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because give me your feedback from the perspective of like, okay, you have the wolf pack and you're there on your tribe, grandma's making the decisions, to now seeing the whole another world and opportunity. Like, what's your thoughts like on that? I'm curious.
See, this is where like I kind of clash with some people, because some people are like, no, we have to stay together. We have to stay together. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, yeah, we can stay together, but why can't we move together forward?
Ooh, I like that.
Like, because like I've always like talked with like some of my classmates about this, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh no, like we have our grandparents, we have this, we have this person that we have
Yeah.
to take care of.
Yeah.
Because I also have a nephew who's surgical palsy. So
Okay.
so it's like we have to stay here. I'm like, no, no, no. Why can't we like do it together and kind
Yeah.
of move forward? But like, I also for me, it's almost like an internal struggle, because I see both sides. Like, you can't lose who you are. You have to remember where you came from,
Of
kind of a
course.
deal too. And it's like that's why most natives end up staying on the reservation.
Okay.
And then the other part is like, no, but how are we going to still better ourselves? Like,
Yes.
we can't just be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to stay on the reservation and basically leave no like legacy. I was like,
Mm.
why can't we do something over here as well too? It's like, because
Yes.
once again, it's like, why can't we have the best of both worlds?
Yes.
Like,
Exactly. No,
am I allowed to have that?
I 100% agree. And if you all agree too, we'd love to get your feedback with any comment, like, subscribe, of course, too.
Yes.
We appreciate you all. It is true. And I think that our family never really gives us, like, they have no ill will. They don't have no bad intentions. They don't want to hold us back. It's just, they just only know what they know based off the ancestry. And so I feel like now moving forward, and for me, like all my grandparents are passed on. God bless them all.
Mm-hmm.
Besides Gigi, this is my mom's boyfriend's mom, but my mom's boyfriend, they've been together like 30 years. So my sister is like 23. My
Mm-hmm.
brother's like 13. So basically, like, I guess you could say stepdad. And that's for a whole other story.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's nice to hear this, 'cause I never really grew up like in a tribe, and I had a little bit more of a kind of interesting, rough upbringing, and father figure, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool to hear that, but then it's interesting to see the contrast where, like, for me, I had no choice but to, right? Like,
Yeah.
strive for more. And apparently my aunt, who was always the one who was like, she was the one who had the job, had the house, doing all the things. And I was like, oh, like, thanks, Aunt Carla. Like, I really look up to you. And she's like, she kind of downplayed it a little bit. And then she was
Yeah.
like, oh, you always had the tenacity, and you were always just like this go-getter type. And I'm like, okay, thanks, but still thanks.
Uh-huh.
And to hear your side, it's interesting that there could be all different types of walks of life, but there's something that brings us together, and makes us want to strive for more. Because I can imagine, like, did you also kind of feel like, almost like, I don't want to say stuck is such a negative word to use, more so like maybe like a gravitational pull into a different direction, like
Mm-hmm.
you felt like there's more. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is,
Like
like.
all the time. Like I struggle with it all the time, because I'm like, okay, what, like I said, like what else can I do? Like,
Yeah.
if I change just one thing, what is that going to change? How is the outcome
Yes.
going to look like? Like,
Yes.
because my brain works so like a math equation,
Okay, I like it.
because I'm very like, okay, what's the facts? Like, okay, what do I change to
Yeah.
change this? Like, it's sometimes it can get so bad that I can only see like in black and white kind of deal. Like, if
Okay.
this happens, this happens. If this happens, that happens. So then now I've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, what if I do this? Like, because I've been good, I guess good, follow the rules and everything
Yes.
all my life, that now I'm finally in my era where, okay, let me be bad a little bit, and let
Ready
me
to lift off.
get right.
Yeah.
Like, let me play around with this. It's like, because
Yes.
let me see what happens. Like,
Yes.
and then kind of just learn from those two,
Of course.
and be like, okay, do I actually like this? Do I not like this? It's like,
Are you hearing this, y'all? Are you hearing this? It's okay.
Yes, because like I said, I've always been good. I'm the rule follower. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm the kid where in school it's like, oh, do you have your hall pass? Like here it is. Like I don't want to be in trouble. I would always be like so scared if I got called to the principal. Like even through teaching, like I
Yeah.
would if I had like my principal as a teacher tell me, hey, look, I need you to come to my office
Yeah.
after school. I'd be like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Like, what happened? Like,
Overanalyzing.
yes, yeah, exactly. Like, is it a parent? Like, is a parent mad at me? I would
Yeah.
get so overly worked up that
Yeah.
now I'm at the point where I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Let's
I
see what
love that.
happens.
I love that. And it's so true because like in contrast to in the same, going down the same path here in our conversation, it's like I used to play a lot of like Grand Theft Auto, GTA 5,
Hmm.
and that was my jam. And I said this on a few different episodes, I think on Real Estate versus Tech. And I look at life as like a video game. And so it's like, if you can have like, not that I need it. Not that it needs to be ego or look at
Hmm.
me. It's just that like, okay, cool. If I can live in like a dream house, or I can drive a dream car, or I can take a dream vacation, or I can travel the
Hmm.
world and even like I don't know, give back. Go
Yeah.
go and donate to another third world country or go to Africa, whatever. Like there's just so much opportunity and possibility. And I
Yeah.
feel like and this is you out there, like
Yeah.
people don't feel worthy, they limit themselves and they
Hmm.
limit their beliefs and then they want to please others, which is understandable. When your
Yeah.
mom and your dad and your grandparents take care of you and the tribe has sacrificed so much, like you want them to be happy. And then you got to sit there and say to yourself, like, well, if you do that and they did that and my grandparents did that and it goes all the way down then it's just like, no one until you were like,
Hmm.
I want to break out and I want to be a cycle breaker.
Hmm.
That's what that comes up for me when I think about your stories. Like
Yeah.
you're a cycle breaker.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Because, like, who else is gonna do it? No one else will do it.
No one, no one until maybe then it's your son or
Yeah.
the next generation.
Yeah. Because, like, even when I think about my son, because I'm like, sometimes I have this conversation with him, and like, I'll feel a little guilty about it
Mm,
because he doesn't understand. Because I'll tell him, it's like, oh, yeah, kid, like, you kind of have it easy. Like, look at where we're at. We can have
mm-hmm.
Chick-fil-A whenever we want.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we have Chick-fil-A money, and we have this, and we have
Yeah.
that. And then when I look back to my childhood, like, I would have, like, my aunt on my dad's side.
Yeah.
My aunts tell me, it's like, oh, yeah, you guys are so rich because you have that Burger King money. Like back in the day and then being on the reservation, Burger King was like the go-to
That was the go-to.
popular like place to go. Like,
Okay.
oh,
Yeah, yeah.
you got extra money if you go to Burger King.
Uh-oh. Watch out. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, so now I tell my son that, I was like, dude, we have Chick-fil-A money. It's like you should be grateful for this. You should do that. And then I'm like, wait, he doesn't understand.
He
Like,
does not. I tried to do this with my daughter as well because
mhm,
like my wife and I, we didn't grow up with anything. Like I had a rough upbringing, and like my wife, she had a decent upbringing, and she had some things, I had some things, but majority of like apartment complexes, never really lived in a house, something like that, and so we struggle to give her that contrast so she understands like, and so our team's in the Philippines and we go every year. And so she got to see a little contrast and she saw kind of houses kind of like almost falling down and how
mhm,
people live. And she's like, Mommy, Daddy, look at this house. And it's just like, it's falling down. Like, yeah, that's how it actually just stays. And that's how it is. And like, not
yeah,
all, it's not like what we have here. But isn't that interesting how like, it's almost like that's just, if that's all you know, then you don't know anything else.
yeah,
So you can't, what's the contrast unless Mommy and Daddy are like, hey,
yeah,
this isn't how it always is, you
yeah.
know?
And the weird thing with my son is when I take him back to the reservation,
I
like,
was going to ask you about that.
yeah, when I take him back, he doesn't see any of that. He doesn't see
Ah,
any of the struggles. He doesn't see like nothing. And
yeah.
he's just like running around, doing his thing, having fun.
Playing, yeah.
Yeah, like he's just him, and it's because then it makes me start to think. I'm like, is it like his way of saying, "Oh, look, I got the best of both worlds," too, kind of a
That's
deal.
true.
And like he just loves it. And sometimes he'll actually call my mom. He's like, "Hey, grandma, come pick me up." And then he's like, "You're kind of like 5, 6 hours away."
Oh, they're about
I
five,
can't do.
6 hours, the reservation.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's about 5, 6 hours. He's like, tell your mom to meet me halfway.
Oh my God.
So like he he doesn't see it like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because he's not experiencing it
Yeah.
and he's not there like full time.
Yeah.
So when we go, it's just like kind of a fun thing for him to do and
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't understand. Um and it's just like also like going to like parenting the way parents because
Mm-hmm.
my mom was very like almost like a lecture kind of a base and it's like you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way, blah, blah blah. And then for me I'm like I think it's because like I'm a teacher
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like that doesn't always work
Mm-mm.
because me and my students were actually talking about this the other day and they were like yeah when my mom gets mad she does blah 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 blah, when my dad gets mad they do blah 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 blah. And then I was like, oh, you guys have it easy. It's like when my mom got mad, it's like she would make us sit on the couch, to make us sit on the couch with nothing. We just sat there the whole time and she would talk probably for 2 hours.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, and if you disrespected her, like if you looked at her or if you like laughed or you done something, now you just added like 2 more hours onto that.
Oh, that's the worst. It reminds me of back in the day, like I didn't want to eat my peas and would sit there at the table for like hours. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, like I don't want to do this. Yeah, it's interesting when you have little ones and like I don't know, the perception is different, the time, what you've learned, all the things. And right now with her, we're having a hard time with like she says, I don't know how to read. I'm like, you do know how to read. You're just learning. And she's in
Mm-hmm.
Kumon. And so she's going through the whole process.
Yeah.
And we put her up a grade because she's September 15th. So she can go down or up. I'm like, all right, we're going to get you out of school a year earlier. Let's get you off the ground running. Like, she's a big
Mm-hmm.
6. She looks like she's like 7 or 8. She's really
Yeah,
tall.
she is.
I don't know where she gets that from because mommy and daddy are short. Okay. I'm 5'8" and my wife's like 5'3", if that. So yeah, we struggle with trying to give her that perception and just a contrast of like, hey, like she's so stubborn about everything. We're like, you don't have to be stubborn. Like if
Yeah.
you just get it done,
Yeah.
go back to playing.
Yeah. I literally have that same problem with my son because when I tell him, hey, you need to go vacuum the floor, and it takes him like so long. And I'm like, and then when he does it, it's like not even done correctly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, why can't you just do it right the
Come
first
on.
time? Like, why is it so hard for you just to push the vacuum?
Yes.
It's not like I'm telling you to go get like a broom and you
And
like
dustpan and yeah.
yes. I'm like, that's what I used to do. It's like I was like, you have it easy. Because the other funny thing is I actually just discovered what do you call those? Those sweepers to dust?
Oh, it's like a Swifter?
Yeah, like a
Swiffer?
Swifter.
Yeah.
My boyfriend actually showed me like a few months ago, and I was like, "Dude, this thing is awesome! Like, holy moly! Like, it's something very simple,
Yeah.
right?" I'm like, "This
The
is
fans,
awesome!"
like the blinds, like
Yeah.
yeah.
And I was like, and then you can do the walls and all of that. And then I told him and I told my son, I'm like, back in the day, it was like my mom would make us like heat up hot water and then put a little bit of pine sol in there and get a rag, like go in rag and then start wiping things and then like making sure
Oh
it's
my
nice and
God.
neat. And I was like, this thing was always here?
Yeah.
And my boyfriend's like, yeah. I was like, trust me. And he goes, trust me. My family wasn't rich enough to have one of these too. And then I was like, but this is so cool. And then
Yeah.
I would tell my son, I'm like, Caden, look, this is so easy. Like, you would actually really love doing this. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is way easier than the way I had to do it all by hand.
Yeah. Dude, that's so true. And it's so interesting how they're like, it's like, I don't know, like from the procrastination to like not doing it
Mm-hmm.
right. Like, I get it, the free spirit, just enjoying and,
Yeah.
you know, you're young and all the things. And like, and it sucks to be like, now be the adult and spoil it for them, you know? And it's like, and it's hard because like, you're like, all right, well, I have to do this, so you have to do this, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we all, it's a normal thing. So you try to explain that to them, but it also makes me sometimes think to myself, like, I don't even want to do it this either. Like,
Yeah.
I'm making you do this. Like,
Yeah.
but you know, even like with school and everything else, trying to get her to understand, like, you have to go to school. This is like, mommy and daddy gets in trouble. Like,
Yeah.
this is like a part of the system. Like, I'm sorry, like, it's no other way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And even if she was homeschooled, then she'd still have to do something,
So that's how they work.
you
Yeah.
know?
Because now, yesterday, funny is that when we were driving home, my son was like, hey, mom, I have an idea. I'm like, okay, what's the idea? And then he's like, what about you pay me? I'm like, oh God.
Ooh.
All right, give it to me. What are you talking about? I'm like, negotiate with me because everything in real estate is negotiable.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's negotiate this. Like, tell me about it. What are you thinking? And he's like, well, Miss S, which is his teacher.
Yeah.
Miss S has this thing where like you have like almost like a money chart, and if you keep your money chart full by the end of the week, you get paid $20. They have like fake money.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, oops. I was like, okay, you get paid $20. It's like, but it's like, what, like, how does it work? Like, tell me about it. He's like, well, in my classroom, we just have to make sure that we keep Miss S happy. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, because that could go like in a million different ways.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, usually like Miss S tells us that to make her happy, like we have to listen, we have to do our work, we have to like do this, we have to do that, we have to show growth on our assessments, like.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, I was like, let me think about this. And then he's like, yeah, so I was kind of thinking that we do like the same thing at home. And then
with real money.
Yeah, he's like, with real money. And then I was like, okay, let me think about that. And then like 2 minutes later, he's like, actually, you know what? $20 might be a little too much. Maybe like $5.
That's so cute.
Right? Like he's learning and he's knowing like what would work for him.
Yeah.
So that's the other awesome thing, because it's like, shoot, if I went to that with my parents, they would have been like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But now that I'm older and I'm like, okay, I gotta listen to my kid, like see what he wants, like like that, just being that listening parent.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
So I told him, I'm like, I'm gonna have to think about this really hard, because it's like I don't like the idea. I told him, it's like, I don't like the idea of how like you are earning money for something you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
I'm like, I don't like that part. I'm like, you're supposed to listen.
Yes.
You're supposed to do your work. You're supposed to grow.
Yes.
It's like, I don't like that part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, those are part of the natural things you're supposed to do.
It's called life.
Right?
It's called life.
So I was like, we have to rethink about this of like how it is. And I'm like, and second part, I don't like the fact that I will have the power to take stuff away. I'm like, work, like life doesn't work like that. So I was like, I don't go to work and be like, and have my boss be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take away $100 from your paycheck. I was like, it doesn't work like that. It works the other way. Like if I put in my best work, and if I show up every single day and I'm consistent with it, then I'm going to get paid.
Yep.
And I was like, it doesn't work the other way around.
Exactly.
And then he was like, wow, I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, right. We tried to do the chores list with Jordan, and it was hard on mommy because I was over here not participating maybe as much as I could, because the one thing for parents out there, this is kind of our parenting segment here, just naturally kind of went into this direction. It's like you work all day, right? And you got all the things that you're doing, and you have to be mindful to have bandwidth and energy in the evening so that you can be there for your kids. And that's what comes up for me, because sometimes, and then this week I've been working on just like doing some different things with cold plunge, and just maybe not trying to push too hard throughout the day so that way I have more energy, because I don't like it when my daughter's like, Daddy, at the end of the night you're just tired. And I'm like, I don't want to show it for my daughter being tired, and I'm healthy and I'm in good health and there's no reason to be tired. And so so setting up a chore list or having that is another thing. And children are, it's I don't want to say it's work, but it's work. You know, being mindful of, okay, what are you saying to them? Are you listening to them? Are you being present? Like, do you have enough energy for them? Like the chores list thing. It's just like, it's a process.
It's a lot for sure. And it's sometimes like I even, when I go to school and when I teach, and if I have a kid that is just like wanting to not listen or whatever, I'm always like, dude, I don't have the energy for you today. Yeah. I was like, no. Or sometimes I'll tell them, it's like, I already have a child for that. It's like, so I'm going to need you to figure that out really fast, please. I was like,
I already have one of those.
Yeah, I was like, I already have a child. It's like, I don't need you to act like that to me, please. I was like, I don't got time for that either. Yeah. So, because knowing that, like, I have to, once I get home, I have to, like, give the energy to my son, too. And since he's the only child, it's like, okay, now it's like, well, what's mom and dad going to do with me? Like, kind of a deal.
How many kids do you have at school?
Let me see. I'm going to say probably like 120 altogether.
Wow. And you see them all throughout the day? Wow. 120 kids plus your own when you go home. That's some jungling of energy.
It can get hard sometimes.
Dude, good for you, man. That's a Liftoff moment. Like, holy cow, trying to just manage and just, yeah, the energy. But that's awesome. So you do primarily just math?
Yeah.
Nice.
Just 7th grade and 8th grade math. That's
At
it.
least it's just math. That's cool. You have one
Yeah.
subject, so you could be focused in that and keep it super simple. And it's funny how math ties in nicely with real estate because
Yes.
contracts and numbers and this and that. And I got to say too, like from if anyone wants to check her out on Instagram, like you do a good job balancing the two because you do a little bit of school content and like
Hmm.
without showing kids, of course, and then also the real estate side and
Yeah.
hey, don't forget,
Yeah.
I'm in real estate and
Yeah.
I'm still here and whatnot. So
Hmm.
so how do you balance that though? Like how because anyone who knows, maybe one person that I could think that would love this episode would be my sister. And my sister,
Hmm.
she's a teacher as well. All these teachers. And she's in Bakersfield, California.
Oh,
And
that's
you
awesome.
two would just like, I don't know, hit it off. Your demeanors, personality are very similar, which is super
That's
interesting.
awesome.
It is awesome. And so like how do you balance it? Like how do you go from like school, 120 kids, your son, and then real estate, and then showing listings and then making sure you have enough like time for you at least on the weekend at some point so you can like recharge. Like how do you navigate?
I usually say I'm very, very lucky because my son's dad takes him every other weekend.
Ah,
So that helps a lot. It takes him on Wednesdays.
there you go.
And with my boyfriend's schedule, he has to like sort of work nighttime.
Oh no.
I hate it, but I love it because then I at least get my alone time to go and just
Ah,
decompress. So
yeah.
I get very, very lucky in that portion.
Okay.
So, but with like everything else, with like teaching and real estate, I think just really setting very clear boundaries with everyone,
I
and
love
then
that.
just knowing, okay, when can I shift my brain?
Yeah,
Because I am like I said, I'm very lucky. I'm at a school where they actually are very supportive of my real
that's cool.
estate, and they want to see me win, and they want to support me and everything.
That's so cool.
So but then in return, like especially with my boss, I with my principal, I told her, it's like, hey, you know what, as long as I'm still here, I am still like very loyal to
Mm-hmm.
you, and I am still wanting like the same things that you want
I love
out
that.
of our kids. I was like, but in return, I also would love like some, like if I give you a head notice, is like, since I'm trying to also grow my real estate business too, it's like, can we kind of like come up with some type of deal, like if I
Yeah.
do certain things, like, so that part, like I'm very grateful for, because like sometime like back in November I had a closing,
Mm-hmm.
and it was on a new home bill, and I was like, oh hey, it's like I have this coming up, like is
Mm-hmm.
there something I can do, like is there like time, I was like, I need time off, and then she's like, okay, what's the latest you can leave? So then
Mm.
she was able to like figure out my schedule and figure out like, okay, how can I still do both at the same time?
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is that day I still taught in the morning and still did my regular stuff, and then in the afternoon for 1 hour, which worked out once again perfectly, that someone else came and covered me for that last hour, and then I was
Perfect.
still able to do my closing and all of that, because she was like,
Wow.
hey, I just really like how transparent you are about all of this and everything, so like of course we'll kind of help you out with
Dude,
everything.
lift off. Let's go. I
Hmm.
love that because I think that if you're out there and you're watching this and you're someone that's doing something
Yep.
that you love, like teaching, and
Hmm.
then you're exploring, expanding in another industry, like if you're just transparent, you can have a seamless transition or a
Hmm.
seamless, like, maybe you can do both. And I think some people, they hate their job and then they're just not happy and they're not being transparent and they're thinking about doing something on the side and then that pours over to that because they're like
Hmm.
now they're tired at work and they hate that but they're spending their nights and their weekends trying to build this other thing and it's just like it's like
It gets overwhelming for them,
overwhelming.
and then
I,
they burn out, and yeah.
yes, I love how you said set boundaries. I think anyone who's out there set
Yeah.
those boundaries and not to mention like you could always like do like my wife when she was going to go full time because she was also another teacher. She was going to go full time
All
and
teachers should just watch this episode.
this is a teacher centric episode. Welcome. So she was starting to do subs. So she quit from full time and
Hmm.
then she said, hey, I'm willing to do substitute teaching. So I think for the first year, she still went back and forth and did the subbing. So that way she could still be able to offset her income. And it worked out well for her,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, there's actually like, I think it's just one of those also moments where it's like you have to ask for help, and people are actually willing to help you, and you
Yeah.
just don't know until you actually say something about it.
Yeah.
And like at least with my principal, like she knows that I'm passionate about teaching and I'm passionate
Mm-hmm.
about real estate, and
Mm-hmm.
like she knows that, so she's like, okay, whatever you need, bull. It's like, let me
That's
help
so
you out.
cool.
So and on top of that, like I have a really great middle school team as well too.
Mm-hmm.
That anyone on that team, like if I send one text message that says, hey, look, I need help with this and this and this, like someone is willing to be like, oh yeah, I can do that, I can do this, I can do, like it's
That's so
just
cool.
so awesome to like be even in an environment like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing about that whole thing too, even though we're supportive of each other, we're
Yeah.
also very accountable of each other,
Mm.
because they're like, hey, you said you were going to do this, like when are you going to get that done, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
Like obviously in a loving manner,
Yeah.
because like we all are there for the kids. So
I love that.
like that's where I tell myself, and I knock on wood every single time, because I'm like, I feel very lucky that
Mm-hmm.
I am in a place where I can have that support.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't have to hide anything from anyone too. And it's like, oh yeah, that's Bull over there. She does real estate too.
Yeah. That's so cool. So I'm sure, like, have you had any chances to work with anyone at the school yet? Any parents or like any of the other teachers?
Here and there.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
still working. I have probably a couple of teachers that are eventually, hopefully, fingers crossed, that they're gonna do something.
That's super
But
cool.
yeah, but it's just because the other thing about like being a teacher and then being in real estate and being able to help teacher is that I know their schedule, and I know when the stressful times are, and I know when I have to like be like back off a little bit.
Yeah.
And especially if there's like teachers at my school, like I was like, oh yeah, so and so kind of had a hard day, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, I shouldn't bring up anything real estate then. So
Yeah.
it really is very helpful in that matter.
That's super cool. It's interesting because, like, it just goes to show that anyone out there can do anything that they want. And it's life by design, and you could design a life that is whatever it is that you want.
Yeah.
And you're flowing through this process where it's interesting. So on the real estate versus technology side, I had a podcast this morning with Ken. So Ken, his episode goes live next week. So first week of February for anyone who wants to check that out. And he's a YouTuber. And so he's a YouTuber agent, and he built his whole team and has had, like, I think he did 315 transactions last year.
Oh wow.
55 on his staff, 9 million views on YouTube. He has like 3 or 4 people on his media team, and he's done all these amazing things. It took us 5 months to get him on the show.
That's pretty good too.
If you know who Ryan Serhan is, he's like one of the biggest, if not the biggest agent, like across the country. He was on $1 Million Listing New York.
Wait, you talked with him?
Today.
No way.
Ken. No, well, I've met Ryan too. He hasn't been on the show yet, but Ken is like Ryan Serhan, but like a YouTuber version. Like his demeanor and everything about
my
him,
gosh.
I'm just like, what the heck? Like,
Yeah,
you know?
I actually had a friend who's also my lender, Emma. Like shout out to her, but
Shout out Emma.
I love her. She's the one that actually told me, it's like, hey, look, you need to go watch like Ryan Serhant. Like you need to watch Owning Manhattan.
Yep.
So then I watched that, and I was like, that's when like another light bulb went off, and I was
Yep.
like, oh my god, that's how negotiating works. Like,
Yes.
wow. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yes.
And then I told Emma that. I'm like, oh, that's how it works. Like,
Yeah, I like that show. I started watching it, and then it got a little too drama. I know the drama helps with ratings and whatever else, and it keeps it suspenseful. Maybe I'm a little too like cut and dry. Like I don't know. Like I don't. Both Melissa and I don't like drama, so we're like, eh. But yeah, good show for sure. And I met Ryan in San Francisco last year for a buddy of mine's event. He's a good dude, and I asked him a question about like YouTubing and passive prospecting, and showcasing your area. He's like, oh, that's a great idea, and this and everything else.
Yeah.
And when I first seen him online, and you guys can check him out, but first seeing him online, I was like, YouTube, and I was really intrigued at first. And then I don't know. I just don't really get intrigued, I guess, as much anymore. Like I'm not like a celebrity fanboy, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not like, I get it. Like I'm very like, wow, like he's
Yeah.
done an amazing job, and like the TV show and the real estate and his team and like YouTube and media, like the fact that he's done all the things, it's like kudos to you, right?
Yeah, I think that's why I'm like so like, oh my god, it's because it's one of those things like, oh my god, I wish I was just in your brain to soak up so much and just learn.
Yes.
Like there's so many people where it's like, okay, if you just had like 2 hours.
Yes.
You will learn so much.
So much.
Get so ahead so quickly.
That's where mentorship is amazing.
Uh-huh.
Mentorship is amazing. And this is one reason why I love the podcast, is because there's the contrast. And like, I love meeting with anyone, and either they're the same page as me, they're on a different page than me, they're more successful, less, I don't care, whatever. It's just nice. And so, meeting someone like that, it was refreshing when you meet someone who is like, and at the end of that show, I said, hey, like, what you do is how we're innovating this real estate industry. And he's just like, wow, good for you, man. Like it's definitely a need. And so I was just like, yes, like it's nice to have that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And then it's also nice, like for us, like we've never met.
Yeah.
Right. And then come to my personal home. Let's vibe out. Let's do the podcast and like have some fun and share a moment with everyone else. And no phone, just focus, because we get so much traffic and phone and this and that. And so that's where I like the podcast, where sometimes it's like just okay. And then slows down.
Take your breather.
Take your breather.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've actually just made all of our podcasts now are being filmed on Fridays. So we just changed it up. Okay. So I'm like, I want to, like what you talked about earlier, setting boundaries, right? For you two out there who is listening and viewing, like that's what I do with my team and staff. With my work wife is Vitz, call her my work wife. And my wife's out there, you already met her, and work wife's in the Philippines. She's awesome. And so we just set some boundaries this year. And it's just like, Friday's gonna be a good decompression, like podcast, meet some cool people day.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, because that boundary does make a huge difference, because it actually, like, for me, exactly, is that it keeps everything balanced. Yeah. And it's like I already know what's coming up, and it's not, like, overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not anything where I'm like, oh, my God, what's going to happen next? Like, I don't like living on the edge. I mean, some really cool ideas do come out sometimes.
They do. They do. I've been living life. This week has been living life on the edge a little bit. So, I mean, and you probably, because we follow each other, and if you see on my content, it's been a little rocky the past week or so, just because we're in escrow with one of our flips. And speaking of mobiles, we flip double wide mobiles, and I had a little heart to heart today with Ashley. And you like the video that I posted this morning at the gym saying, like, real talk, the hard conversations is where you grow.
Yeah.
And I didn't really put her out there, but we had a conversation, and not that, it's whatever. She'd be fine if I did. But we had a conversation, and I just told her some things I was thinking about. And it was just, with real estate, like it's not really clean and cut and clear. There's so many variables, because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with money, you're dealing with time frames, you're dealing with inspections and emotions, and it's like, oh my God, it's a lot.
And then you have to be the calm one through the whole thing, and
you got to be the therapist.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of good for you, because your demeanor seems like you're pretty chill, you're pretty calm, easygoing, and you have a personality too, where it's like I can imagine people. It's hard for someone probably to get mad at you. Like you don't see like someone like.
Yeah. I think most people get mad at me because once again, I'm a rule follower.
Oh.
And I'll be like, that's not what the rule says.
Oh, I can see. Okay.
Like,
then.
I think that's when they get mad at me, because like I can see it in school as well too. Because I would tell a kid, hey, you have to take your hood off, right? And then they're like, oh, like mumble something. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, don't like take it out on me. It's like, I'm just following the rules. Like, if you have a problem with it, go see the principal. Like,
ooh.
I'm like, do you want me to call her down? Do you want me to text her? Like, do you want to have that conversation with her? It's like, because I don't know her reasoning, actually. This would actually be really informational for me, too. And then they'll be like, actually, no.
That's actually good negotiation skill right there.
Right? And
I love that.
Yeah, and with my new home build, too. The funny thing is that they were very sketchy on like the closing date, and it wasn't like very solid. Okay. And then they were like, what happened next was something happened in the house. I don't exactly remember, but something happened. Okay. Where I was like probably 95% sure. I was like, oh my God, they think they're gonna change the closing date.
Oh no.
So then I pre-told my client, like, hey, just an FYI, they might change the closing dates. Like, I am going to anticipate they will. And then the new home build was like, oh, no, we're going to keep it the same. We're going to keep it the same. I'm like, no, we're not. How are you supposed to fix that? Like, because it was like a broken truss or something.
Oh, no.
And I was like, you're not going to fix that before the clients move in? I was like, we need this fixed because
Yeah.
they're not gonna move in there with a broken trust.
Yeah.
So so then so then I told him, I'm like, this is going to change our closing date, right?
Hmm.
And then she was like, no, 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 we'll keep the same closing date. And I was like, technically, per your contract, it says if there's a material defect, blah, 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 blah. And then she tried to come back at me and be like, well, also the contract does say we have like 2 years to build a house. And I'm like, you're definitely correct. But also, the contract also says that if you change the closing date, which I'm going to anticipate you are because that
Yeah.
has to get fixed,
Yeah.
that my buyers can back out and get their earnest deposit back.
Ooh.
And then she was like, well, I'm not talking to you about this. And I'm like, I'm just stating what's in your contract.
And you are talking to me. Because you just gave me feedback based off what you're saying, but now because you don't like where the conversation's going,
Yeah.
now you don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah. So people do get mad at me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like a very, like I said, I'm very much a rule follower and be like,
Mm-hmm.
what that says. Like,
Yeah. Like,
and some people don't, they want to go around that, but then I'm that person like, no, this is what it says.
yeah. So in contrast, I'll give you you and the listeners a little bit of contrast, but also a little bit of the story behind this current closing. So in the contract, basically, like anyone out there, if you don't already know, like there's a lot of 55 plus communities out here, a lot of snowbirds, and so we specialize in usually 1977 or newer, 2 bedroom, 2 bath. 1977 plus, you can get financing and got to be 55 plus for these places, but it sucks because the market's been sucking right now. So we can't sublease or nothing. Airbnb, like a lot of these places have to be owner occupied. So we're under contract. We're supposed to close actually today. And so, yeah, so we're 1 week behind, which is fine. Supposed to close today. And so I was looking at the contract, rule follower, and in the contract it said 5 days. So basically, it was 5 days you would have to get pre-approved or get qualified to be able to move into the park. Well, she wasn't qualified to move into the park, and then this is a circumstance where this individual gets this is a trust and gets money on a basically annual basis, and so we needed more proof of income for her to be able to get qualified and so on and so forth. And so we just got back from Kona, Hawaii. It was like the very next day under contract. Yay, it's been 7 months, so happy. And then I've been taking on additional responsibilities with like the lot rent personally out of my pocket. Thank God that like we had that because we didn't have enough reserves to pay for those lot rents and SRP and whatever. And so then I was like, speaking of rule follower, I was like, so, hey, Ash, like, they were supposed to be pre-approved 5 days in. And I know that you had to speak with one of the family members and there's a family member, but not in the contract involved. But the family member was like a huge part of this equation for it all to come together.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's where I was just like, just giving you some feedback. It would have been nice if you would have like called, like I know that you gave the urgency to the person who's purchasing, but the sister needs to be involved. It'd be nice if you just called the sister. Call the sister, let the sister know what's going on. And so finally, because she didn't call last week, she actually called this week. She called the sister. And you want to respect your clients and think that the clients are going to be like, yeah, we're moving along. This is an adult. I mean, she's over 55, right? And so apparently the sister didn't know the urgency and totally was just like, oh my God, I didn't know the urgency. I didn't know that she was in contract. Oh, I didn't know you're supposed to be closing. And like by this time it's like in 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's where I feel like in the contract world or following rules, it's like, you got to be super clear because it's just like, I feel like contracts make things real. It's like when you sign on the dotted line, like, like
it's go time.
Yeah, it's go time, and we're clear, and that's where I feel like sometimes in any like relationship, could be personal, could be business, could be whatever, buying a car, like if you're not clear about the expectations and what you're signing up for, then it could get real messy.
Yeah, I actually have that problem sometimes with like just in teaching because I would have like a student or even my own kid come to me and be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, wait, time out. rewind. It's like, tell me that in another way because I don't understand. Or like I would try to give them like follow-up questions
I
and be
like
like,
that.
all right, I'm like, we got to work on some communication skills here because it's like I don't understand what you're trying to say. Like, what are you talking about? And sometimes kids like would perceive that as an, oh my god, she is being a pain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I genuinely don't understand what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So my coworkers actually made like a saying that is like very popular in our campus is saying like, oh, we're trying to seek to understand.
Oh, I like that.
So it's like maybe it's just one of those things where like we have to seek to understand. We have to sit with them, be like, okay, what is happening because I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know like in because I'm also a part of like even though I'm an EXP, like we have this other subgroup called like CRG. It's
Okay.
like a collaborative group realty of EXP.
Nice.
And we have one of our agents, Clark, I believe. One time I was talking with him and he was telling me because I was telling him, it's like, oh yeah, sometimes I just get so nervous talking about. He's like, why don't you just follow the 5 minute rule? I'm like, what's the 5 minute rule? He's like, if the conversation's gonna take less than 5 minutes, why don't you just do it? Because we're talking like procrastination.
I like that.
And then he's like, if that conversation's literally gonna take less than 5 minutes, why can't you just do it and check it off your list? It's like you're just hurting yourself even more by keeping it on your list.
Yeah.
And prolonging it.
Yes.
So then ever since he told me that, I was like, now when I have something to do, or if I have to call someone, if I have to call a parent or call a client or call an agent, I'm like, is this going to take less than 5 minutes?
I love that.
And then if I say yes, then I'm like, okay, let me just call now.
Yes, and not to mention too, like it also is like a weight off your chest. If anyone out there who's listening and watching, like if you have to have a tough conversation, just have it.
Yeah.
Because I literally had like a headache this morning and went to the gym, felt a little bit better, but still was off. And then I had that conversation, and then I usually am like a 12 o'clock, take a lunch break, and I like to take a nap. So I took my lunch break, talked to the girls, took a little nap, and then got going again. And the next thing I was just like refreshed because I got the conversation off my chest. And even the wifey Melissa was like, just talk to Ashley already, okay? Because she was just like, and she's like, you're holding on to it, and you're going through all these things, and yada yada yada. And I'm like, all right, fine, okay. I'm not trying to overanalyze. I'm just trying to like cross the T's, dot the I's, understand, and then make sure that like, what can I? And it's interesting because like we have lots of agents, and I have a team, and I help and support them, and do coaching in that aspect. And then like it's a different type of environment relationship situation, and she's like a neighbor and she's a friend, but she's also helping us as a real estate professional. And it's like, I don't know, I was talking to my wife last night about imposter syndrome or something. I'm like, I don't think I have imposter syndrome. I just feel like I don't know, just need to like have the tough conversation and just be honest and just tell her like, this is where I'm coming from and why, and how I would have maybe handled the situation a little bit differently. So that way, like we can just be better proactive and not have to be reactionary, like when we're already supposed to close and there's lot rent due, and like I'm stopping payment on that. Like I'm done paying those lot rent bills. Okay, like no, thank you.
After 7 months, it would be like, oh.
Yeah. I was like 7 months. It's like 1,100 a month plus we already discounted the property like 20 grand.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because we were getting aggressive on discounting because we wanted to get it sold. Thank God we had the margin with it, but yeah, it started adding up a bit. We're like, oh my God, and like this house we house hacked too, so thank God we have Airbnb here. We have 2 Airbnb.
Yeah.
We have the travel trailer upstairs, then we rent a room, so that kind of helps a little bit. But like we're in our busy season, I'm like, I don't want to give all the money away. Like I want to like save that and hold on to it, and then reinvest.
Go buy a second GTR.
Oh yeah, correct. I actually do want a second one, but that's a whole other story because I do want to I want to do a warehouse collective. So until I have more room, either get like one of those double stack car stackers in the garage, so I could do that. Yeah, which would be cool, and or get the collective. But I I just bought a TRX, so buying that truck.
Those are nice too, though.
They're pretty sick. I always loved, there's a car segment here. I always loved the those V8s, like those 6.2 supercharged V8s. Like Mopar's pretty cool. And the truck that I had was cool, the Tacoma, which same platform pretty much is what you have for the 4Runner.
Yeah. I have the Forerunner.
Towing that trailer and stuff, I was like, not happening. And then going from a GTR to that, as far as power wise, I was like, ah. And then I ended up doing it and getting it, and the wife was a little nervous, but I'm just like, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
We're living our dream. Like, let's
Yeah.
just keep moving forward. Like, because on the Liftoff agent side, I'm fine. Like, the income's there for that. It's just with the fix and flip, and then like it just puts on a little more extra pressure.
Yeah.
But I'm a fanatic when it comes to pressure. I love it. Give me more. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I've always told people that too about myself. I'm like, if I overfill my plate just a little bit, I tend to do a little better.
Yes.
I was like, I don't know why. I was
Yes.
like, it's like the weirdest thing ever. It's like if I just overfill it a little bit, it's like I'll be fine.
Yes, and there's something out there for y'all out there. There's something called good stress.
Mm-hmm.
That's like working out over exerting your muscles or like overfilling your plate a little bit. Like especially if it's something that you love.
Yeah.
If you love it, then you're good. But if you hate what you're doing and you're stressed out about your job and your bills and all the things, then it's just like, okay, you gotta put your finger on the pulse, look in the mirror, and be like, make a change.
Yeah.
Make a change. And there's so many people out there that do that. And they live their lives and they're with their partners and they do what they do every single day and they're not happy and they deserve so much more. And that's why I love having this platform. Just if we can have one person out there,
Yeah.
you know, to just like, come on, you got this.
Yeah, that's the best part about all of it because it's like you get to make the choice in how you want to live this life.
Amen.
No one can tell you like how to do it. You get to like choose that.
Yes.
Like, because the same as like when I'm teaching math, I tell the kids that all the time, even though like there's this big like conversation of, oh my God, Common Core math, blah, 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 blah. Like, and I'm like, no. Guys, I tell the kids all the time, I was like, I don't care how you get to the answer if you get to the answer and you can explain it back to me.
Ooh.
And I was like, because like there's like technically speaking, there's more than one way to get to an answer.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's one way to get rich. There's one way to make money. There's more than one way. Like, there's more than one way, guys.
Yes.
And then they're like, oh, okay, cool. So I think that kind of, especially for my classroom, helped break the barrier in the room. I was like, oh no, I can't just go like procedural every single time, which also like helps in obviously my everyday life because it's like there's more than one way. So if I start stressing over something, I'll be like, okay, there's more than one way. It's like, what's another way?
I love that. That's actually very, very true and very smart. And that's why I feel like sometimes this is you out there. Like, just gotta ask yourself, what is it that you want? Because I think some people either feel like they're not worthy or they just don't think about it at all, or I don't know what it is, but there are some people out there that completely just accept and just keep moving forward. And maybe they don't think they have a choice. I don't know.
But waking up every single day is a choice.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. It's like, it's your choice. Like, all you got to do is like wake up and do something. Like, what's one thing that is very popular right now online? Be 1% better.
Yes, it's behind you.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
1%. Look at that. Yeah. That was not planned.
No, it wasn't.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's like, and oh yeah, who is it? Ed Milet has a book, and it's like one more reps, one more something, and he wrote it and contribute to his father, and he talks about that, like just hit one more rep at the gym, like just take one more step, like up that mountain, or just take one more, like whatever it is, and it's so true. It's like I don't know, it's human development and growth for me. I'm addicted.
Yeah, it is.
It's addicting.
Yeah, because the funny thing is like we have, as teachers, we have to have evaluations every single year, right?
Okay.
And on one portion of the evaluation, we have to put in like, how are we getting our professional development? Like, how are we getting better at being a teacher?
Yeah.
And then
you're like realtor.
Right? No, I was actually thinking about this because like we actually have to sit down with our principal or assistant principal and we have to like have that conversation with them. And she was like, next time we come meet, like, I want you to know, it's like, this is a question I'm going to ask you. I'm like, okay. So I've been thinking about it. I'm like, how do I answer that? I'm like, I don't go to any like math PDs. Like, I don't go learn from other people. And then I was like, technically my whole real estate is like, my professional development, because if I'm not working on me, how does that help the kids?
Yep.
I was like, like it's just not focused in teaching and it's just not focused in math. It's like it's way more bigger than that.
That's huge.
So I was like, how
That's
do I put that
huge.
on paper?
Yeah, that is true. It's like, how do I kind of put that? Because, yeah, I feel like, especially in the educational system, it's so if this, then that.
Hmm.
Here's your credits for this major. If you go for this amount of time and you pay this much money, then you're going to get this piece of paper.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine the school world where it's just like, okay, like what courses did you take? Like, like
Yeah.
instead of thinking like, well, I mean, I negotiated like negotiated like 6 deals and I went through these numbers and
Hmm.
like cuz yeah, communication whether it's adults or children like and plus if anything even from the perspective of just being a teacher day in and day out, you have personal development because
Yeah.
every day you're dealing with kids, different circumstances, different conversations.
Hmm.
So you're gonna develop no matter what,
Yeah.
right?
Because the side story to that is that I actually didn't grow up learning English at all. I learned Navajo.
Yeah.
I learned Navajo for like majority of my life. I didn't actually learn like officially English until I was like maybe 11, 12 years old around there.
Wow.
So like even thinking of that, because my grammar, like I horrible at grammar. That's why I'm like I'm never teaching ELA, I'm never teaching reading, never teaching writing.
Me too.
Yeah. So like even when I was going through my student teaching, my mentor teacher, I remember specifically sat down with me and she was like, "You know you do double negatives a lot, right?"
Really?
And then I was like, "No, I don't even know what that is."
Yeah.
So
Explain more.
so it's like, let me see. I don't want to don't do or I don't not do that or something like that. So basically you're
Ah.
using two negatives in a same sentence. So I guess in grammar that kind of contradicts each other kind of a deal. Like
And now
I
it's a positive. No.
right? So I didn't know it was a natural thing that I was doing. And I was like,
Interesting.
wow, cool. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't know that. So fast forward, like now, when I first of all, I'm like I said, very transparent with my kids. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
if I ever like spell something wrong, like don't laugh at me. It's like, because I actually don't like, I know how to spell. So
Yeah.
like some like when you have like a vowel consonant thing, like that part, the rule kind of gets a little iffy for me.
Okay.
And I was like, and then when I speak, I was like, number one, just let me speak. You'll eventually know what I'm talking about. And number two is like, you'll know when I get really passionate because then I'll start saying certain words.
Ah.
And I was like, or my accent will come out, my native accent. And then they're like, okay.
That's freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Look out. You never know what's going to be coming out.
Right.
That's sick.
So like even with that, it's like I really learned how to like be very conscious of my communication
Mm.
and know what I'm trying to say because I feel like while I was growing up, it was just like word vomit all the time.
Mm.
Word vomit.
Yeah.
But then now I had to like scale it back and be like, okay, what am I trying to say and how do I say it to get my point across?
Yeah.
So like I don't know how to put that on paper for my teacher evaluation. Because it's
Mm.
like, oh yeah, I'm gonna read this book, this book, this book. It's like, how do I show that? Because like you said, I don't get credit
Mm.
hours for that to show on my evaluation.
Yeah.
So then like if I read a book, yay, I read the Atomic Habits, oh awesome book. And I was
Yep.
like, how do I show that on a teacher evaluation? Because I don't know if that's actually what they're looking for.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
do they want me to go to like an actual training where like someone is standing in front of me and be like, hey, look, you got 3 credit
mm.
hours for this?
Do they give you much construct as far as like what they're looking for or like how you can?
See, I've always understood it as in I should be going to like a training and being taught by someone
Mm.
else and then getting a certificate to show like, hey, look, this is how much credit hours you have, or not credit hours, like this is how many professional development hours you got,
Yeah.
kind of a deal. But like,
Mm.
I honestly feel like with like where I am in my life, like I first of all, like I don't think I need that.
Yeah.
And I need more of okay, how do I develop myself first? And then okay,
Mm.
now how do we get to the kids for that?
Yeah.
Like
I
because
like that.
my teacher content knowledge, like I always get a really high score on because they're always
Mm.
like, "Oh, you know what you're teaching, you know how this topic lines up to this topic, you know how to get the kids from here to here, like kind of a deal."
Mm.
But it's like, okay, what do I need to work on for myself?
Yeah.
And then I double dip, obviously, because I have to be like, okay, what can I read that can work with teaching and real estate?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very interesting intellectual thought process because from like the standpoint of it could just be black and white. You just go get your personal development hours compared to double dipping, reading books, negotiating, closing deals, that type of stuff. Even working with mortgage officers. So you're going through that process of looking at numbers and,
Mm-hmm.
30-year fix and interest rates and stuff like that as well. But yeah, that's it's interesting because every single day, like we live, we grow, we learn. Like you're not ever like in any circumstance not learning or growing.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's your kids challenging you, it's the police officer that pulls you over. It's whatever at lunch. The food had a hair in it, like whatever. It's like, okay, how do I handle the situation with the police officer, or how do I handle the
Mm-hmm.
situation with this hair in my food? Do I say something or not say something? Like
Yeah.
it's always like we're always ever being challenged, but I think that it's interesting like what you just said, because when you conceptualize the reality that you can focus on what you really want to grow as far as in whatever area, like Atomic Habits, reading that
Mm-hmm.
book, podcasts like what you're watching right
Yeah.
now, like I think that it's one thing that, and if you didn't think about that, you learn every day you do, so just that's a reminder. And then that's someone just like being on autopilot and subconsciously learning compared to being consciously learning
Yeah.
and actually wanting to put in the effort because you want to align your goals and your vision and what you want
Mm-hmm.
with whatever it is that you're learning.
Yeah. And I've been on that autopilot scenario
Right?
too. And I'm just like, it's just like going through the motions.
Yes.
It's like not fun.
No.
And it's just like, oh, okay, what do I do now? Like kind of a deal. Like
Yes.
nothing exciting.
That's exactly why with this podcast, like I like this because it's a conversation. Even mostly for technology, it's a conversation, but it's a little bit more structured, intro, outro, kind of gold nugget at the end, things like that. But like with this, it's like organic.
Yeah.
I like the organic, like kind of Joe Rogan a little bit, and just make it so it's fun and it's organic and it's just a conversation, and it's even better too. Like when you vibe out with the person you just met, and then you get to go all these different directions and explore stuff, and then hopefully just one of y'all get to listen to this and be like, oh, okay, all right, I got it. So that's super cool. But no,
learn something from it.
Yes, learn something from it. Exactly. Actually, it was funny. We had a guest on the show. He's up there on the top left, and I don't know if you can see the TV over there, but of course you guys can't see it. And he has middle finger mantra, and he has a guys group, and one of the guys in the group was in that chair, which is he was in the chair, but one of the guys that's in his middle finger mantra event, he basically was listening to this podcast. And he totally was like so engulfed in it that he like had his GPS on, he wasn't paying attention, and he went like 30 minutes out of the way. And he had to like turn back around and like, so if you're driving, like make sure you're going the right way.
Yeah.
But I was
That's
just like,
totally true.
and then I met him at Nico. He has the Just Grow podcast, and he has the Woo and the Do podcast. So like Do is like very much like your SOPs, your KPIs, like your professional development, like if this then that, and the Woo is like woo woo. It's a little bit more woo woo and spiritual and meditation and that type of stuff. So we went to the woo woo one for like more the spiritual side, and so that story I just told you, I got partnered with him, and he told me the story that he totally was off track, doesn't know where he was going, and didn't even know that it was our podcast. I was like, yeah, that's my podcast. He's like, oh, what the heck?
Awesome.
Yeah, I remember the story you're talking about with your aunt and this and that and everything else. I'm just like, that's super sick. Like you would never even guess, but like, so you never know who's going to be listening to this. And the next thing you know, they're going to hit you up and be like, oh my God.
That's awesome.
I'm also Native American. I also just do what you did, And so that's why I think it's so cool, because you could just inspire one person out there that maybe is going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're part of their tribe. They want to go and they want to do something else, but they don't want to let their parents down.
Yeah.
And so it's okay, right?
Yeah, it's okay.
You could do it.
It's fine. It works out at the end.
Right?
It works out the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. 100%. I agree. I definitely agree. So if you were to like transition with teaching, would you still feel a calling to teach or do some type of educational stuff to help people in that sense? Or how do you feel about like when you do kind of go in that different direction with real estate?
I think so. Because I feel like in real estate, there are so many people that don't know the process of even buying a home, or even
Mm-hmm.
like the vocab of buying a home, the
Mm-hmm.
math behind buying a home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like even though I am a teacher in the classroom, I feel like I'm going to end up being a teacher forever.
Yeah. You're a teacher in real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I've gotten to the point where I realize myself that I can take a very complex topic or information and think about how do I make it
Like almost like
to
elementary.
not yeah to a point where people can actually understand it and be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what they mean when they say this and this and this.
Got it.
Because
Got it. Okay.
if you think about it, like with eighth graders, you are sitting there and not sitting. I'm sitting there teaching about, let's say, like the Pythagorean theorem. Like most people probably don't understand what that is nowadays.
Totally over my head.
Yeah. But then like I can see myself where I'm like, okay, knowing my kids, knowing who my audience is, knowing like this child might need extra support, this person's going to get it this quick. It's like, who can I pair up with what to kind of help me help me get my message across, and then like having my objectives and be like, hey, look, this is our goal. Like I have to do like a lot of planning in the background and be like, okay, what can I do to help make sure all kids learn? And then I teach it the way I need to, and then like it works out perfectly.
Wow.
And then just do like a lot of check for understanding. So I feel like I can take that same thing and then go into real estate and be like, oh, hey, look, yes, when we go get you with a lender, we're gonna get you pre-qualified, and most people will not understand what that means.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, okay. And then like since I guess with teaching, like I'm getting to I pride myself in this. I'm getting to the point where like I can see when a kid is not understanding.
Yeah.
Like just by their body language, that I can take that same thing into real estate and be like, oh yeah, you don't understand this, huh? So it's like almost a
psychology, social cues, body language. Man, we're getting deep now. I like that.
Yeah, and it makes it will make it easy for the client to understand and be like, okay, how does this work? And then obviously you're going to have to differentiate. It's $1 million word in education. Differentiate for like certain people, because some people like obviously you're not going to treat your first time home buyers the same as someone else that's going to buy like their fifth house.
Yeah. Total different conversation for sure. And that's where I love on the YouTube side, technology videos, is you could be able to take that and duplicate that and make it so it's very much big buttons and color and educating and going through that process. And it's interesting because you look online from the perspective of all these people that I follow in the space, been in 10 years for the real estate space and serving these agents, and like there's not a lot of people that talk about the educational portion of it. Like, what is like the process of buying a house? Here's the 101s. This is what the process with the lender. This is what you have to think about this. And we preach a lot of that at the Liftoff agent side about like, hey, like let's like talk about the buying process and like put together videos, and then it, it's called a customer journey. So you're like, okay, where are they at the beginning? Okay, they just found you on YouTube, and then go all the way down to the funnel to the point where they downloaded something. Now they're on your calendar,
Yeah.
and then they could feel so much more comfortable because they're like, you're the expert. I just got educated. I know everything.
And then now it's like they because with like teaching, they usually show this video like when you are in your teaching program and all of that. It's like you have to make the kids like you, regardless. You have to make them like you, because especially like as a math teacher, I have to teach them math, and not everyone loves math. Everyone, like, your first day of school, hey, how's your math class? Oh, I hate it.
Yep.
Like, oh, why do you hate it? Like, because X, Y, and Z ruined it. It's like, because I don't get it, because it's too hard. It's because blah, blah, blah. So it's like you almost have to take extra effort to make kids rewire their brain, rewire their mindset, and be like, hey, look, you can do it. And this is possible. It's going to take a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
But it is possible. And you take that same thing and you put it like into real estate, the same thing. Because then you have clients that are like, oh, I have bad credit. Oh, I don't have a down payment. Oh, I have like they try to find different excuses to act like it's not possible. And then they don't realize, hey, this is my end goal, and they don't even know that's their goal.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Wow.
So then it's like, okay, let me, like, why do you feel like you don't like you're not worthy of owning a home.
Yeah.
Like flipping that from them.
And that's a good starting point because
Mm-hmm.
that's why they don't even think they can do it. Like even my wife, she didn't think she could do it.
Mm-hmm.
And because her stepmother said, no, you can do it and let's pencil it out.
Yeah.
Then she was confident and then she believed in herself and then she achieved it. And that's how we have this house today.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that one person motivated my wife. Well, then we met and then we sold and then we used that equity to put into this house.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah. So it's just I feel like it's just the more information you give them, the better.
Yes.
And then they're like, and then the more comfortable they feel with you, and the more they're like, okay, yeah, she is in it with our best interest. Then it's like, okay, I do trust her. It's like I don't know where she's leading me, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but it's like if
This is
it's
exciting.
yeah, it's exciting. It's like, but I know the end goal is going to be
Mm.
that house. And then the same like in math. Oh, the
Yeah.
end goal over here is to learn about the Pythagorean theorem. No one knows what that is.
Not at all.
And I was like, and sometimes I'll even tell the kids, I'm like, you're not gonna remember this when you're like 25 years old. It's okay. I was
Yeah.
like, I just need you to know this is the end goal.
Yes, keep it super simple, big buttons in color. And it's funny in contrast to, so like we always talk about like people buy from someone they know, like, and trust from the terms of marketing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting to flip that. And little Julius over there, he wants to come in. He's like, let me in. He likes to come in here and sit in these seats. Julius is our male orange tabby. He has a twin brother, which is Vincent, and he looks like Garfield. So it's interesting from the perspective of like, the kids still have to know, like, trust you
Mm-hmm.
to feel confident enough to even think that you can guide them into, like,
Yeah.
okay, now I know or
To that
understand.
growth or to that proficiency or like whatever. Because I
Yeah.
know like my school really focuses on academics. So we always be like, okay, how are you going to grow? How did you get better? Like, what did you do? What did you do different? Like, so like
Mm.
the same thing goes into real estate.
Dude, that's cool. And this is actually a lot of fun too, because I love contrast, and
Mm-hmm.
it's cool to have the contrast. And this is another reason why I'll say selfishly here, I wanted to get out of just the real estate tech podcast because it's mainly just focused on real estate professionals, mortgage professionals, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We had some like wild cards and coaches, whatever. But no, it's cool to see the contrast. And you are a first teacher on the show. Actually, second teacher. I'm sorry. You are the second teacher. Well, first teacher still teaching on the show
Oh, there you go.
because my wife was the first, but she's not teaching anymore. But it's really cool to think about it like that because another thing that comes up for me is I would like to go to schools. One of my end goals is to motivational speak and go to schools and speak at different schools about
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship, starting a business, going through that process. And I remember I did one, I went to Melissa's class back in Hayward and I was trying to start with like being relatable. So I dropped like Logan Paul or Jake Paul at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like quick divide. It was
Yeah.
like some love, some hate, you know. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, dang it. Look, he try to open the door.
Oh, can he open the door?
He can, but I locked it because I know Jordan would also just come on in. We're on a podcast. Do you want to come in?
She's like, no.
What do you think? Should we let him in?
Sure.
All right, you want to let him in?
Yeah.
You're the closest.
Okay.
And yeah, so there was that divide really quick, and I was just like, okay, how do I navigate this? But now after what you're talking about, come in, Julius. We got Julius on the show here. He's
Special guest.
special guest. You want to be on the camera? You want to say hi to everyone? All right, special guest Julius on the show. All right, welcome, dude. There you go. There you go. Glad that you came in. You want to relax? Huh? Don't scratch me up here. He gets a little aggressive, this guy, and sometimes you're like, dude, you're scratching me.
You're like, that's enough, please.
It's enough scratching, okay? Calm down. But what do you guys do? Do you guys have like I know there's obviously for the kids too special like there's personal development too, right? And then you probably have assemblies or principal talks, or do you guys do any of that, or like bring the kids together in assembly room and like have different like events like that at all, or no?
Yeah, we actually do. So our school is very big on character, or academic character and leadership.
Love it.
So that is like our big three main pillar of our school. So obviously, academic is going to be a very huge thing, and we push and we challenge the kids. And then our character, the kids actually have like character lessons every single week, the teachers teach character lessons. Like it's like usually on different types of character. Like
Love that.
this week was, I think, perseverance.
Oh, okay.
Or this month. Yeah, this month was perseverance. So then they got to learn that and all of that. And the cool thing is that we have the kids go and nominate someone in their class that show the most perseverance.
Ah.
So it's really cool. And then obviously we also have our leadership where like every kid should grow in their leadership.
Got it. Okay.
I feel like I'm a
Julius is like he was scratching up the chair over here, so I'm like, all right, you got to get down, dude. And then he was like playing with the wire. I'm like, uh-oh, don't lose that camera. And then now he's loving your shoes, huh?
Right.
Are you cool with cats?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Some are like allergic, others are scared, others love them, but he loves you. Your energy must be right because he's just like, hey, how's it going? And he gets when Melissa was first pregnant with Jordan, he was just a kitten, and so we got both of them because she lost her cat. And I didn't have any cats at the time, and I had to unfortunately get rid of my cats. And so we both were like, all right, let's go ahead and get another one. Let's get an orange and Tappy. And then he had a brother. We seen both the pictures from the little adoption agency, so we ended up getting both. And he was always like by her neck and knew she was pregnant, and by her tummy and stuff like that. And so he gets real aggressive sometimes with like the kneading. See, he's like, "Hey, over here, dude. Over here. Over here, kid."
He's like, "I just want to lay here."
He's just So I'm trying to preoccupy him so he doesn't get too crazy with that wire. And next thing you know, we're gonna lose signal. Get off the wire, bro. What the heck are you doing, dude? But that's cool. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, you definitely, the stories that you have and the contrast that you have like really built your character. And it's awesome to see that you are a cycle breaker, because I'm also a cycle breaker as well. I think that's where we can definitely relate. And it's cool to be able to inspire the next generation to be like, you can break the cycle, you can do more, like go for it. Like you never know what you don't know until you do it. And then here you are on a podcast.
Right? My first podcast too.
Is it your first?
It is.
Let's go. Liftoff. First podcast. And I know you said you were kind of nervous, and I was like, don't worry about it. Like, I've done this a few times, and like, I know also sometimes it can be nerve wracking too when you're like go to someone's like house, you've never been there before, and you're meeting all these new people, and then you're gonna do this podcast. Even though obviously I'm very freaking public online, so I don't hide. You've already probably seen everything because I'm always like, either red light therapy there, or doing videos here, or out there with the family out there, and what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Like that's what I think about social media is so cool, and I feel like more influencers out there should be transparent on stories and share what they're doing day in day out. And you don't see that with like the Gary V's, or you don't see that much with the Alex Moseys and with some of these people that are up there, which I understand they're also very busy. I just feel like not everything should be so polished. You want to come up? Careful, because he is a little he just does the kneading. He needs. And so if he starts kneading you a little bit, then you'll have to just stop him with the scratching. But look, he wanted to go on both sides. He was on my side and got on the host seat, and now he's on the.
He's like, I'm just gonna hang out here.
Yeah, everyone from him to Jordan. That's why we just said, hey, Jordan, we'll play with you later. We're just going to put your doll here, because she was trying to like, I want to be here and I want to be inside. I'm like, no, you're going to be inside here and you're just going to be playing and doing all the things. He's so cute.
He's like, I'm just going to chill here right now.
No, but if y'all are enjoying this, do us a favor and leave us a review, because we'd love to get a review if you're listening to it. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, what have you. If you're on Instagram, seeing maybe a clip, I don't know if you'll see this, but if you're on, we'll just say YouTube, because you're probably on YouTube, watching this, we'd love to share it with someone you think should see it. And this is a community podcast. So literally, if you know of someone that should be on the show and has a compelling story and someone that you think that should get it out there, why not?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Right? Like, we're in Gilbert, Arizona, Maricopa County. So definitely you can travel. I want to make sure at least this podcast is like, we had one guest yesterday who's an agent, and she has a crazy story, and we did like the StreamYard online version, but I really want to make it in person. I think like this one needs to be in person, the other one's just online. So I'm like, all right, like we'll make one exception for you, but the rest are going to be all in person.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I think in person's a lot better.
Yeah. You can just vibe, and then you get random cats that come in and all other things. But So if we can forecast your 5 years, what does your 5-year dream look like? That way individual, either we can A, get you back on and see what happened, how did it unravel. B, they can follow you on social media and watch it unravel. And C, we can just encapsulate this in time during the first month of 2025.
So how big do you want me to dream?
Like that big as you want it to be. I could see GTRs already, but
yes.
Big as you want it to be.
So obviously I have to have the best of both worlds.
Okay.
Which is like non-negotiable at this point.
Yep.
I really want one of those houses up in Lucinda's. My boyfriend's gonna kill me for this, but it's fine.
It's all good. The line's drawn in the sand. This is what she wants.
Right. I want one of the house in Lucinda's, but the problem with those houses in Lucinda's is that they're not horse properties. So I want horses.
You're speaking my mom's language.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with horses. Like, horses are my jam. The last time I had a horse was probably back in high school. So
okay.
It was my heart horse, so that's why I never got another one.
Aww.
So now I'm like, okay, I need to get back to horses.
Okay.
So I would probably have horses. I would obviously have my own garage with GTRs and with, like, Corvettes and with, like everything. And obviously, like, I'm just a rock star real estate agent.
Okay.
It's like I'm just like getting everything I want, like living both the luxury side of life. This is gonna really sound very like I'm very ego-y, but
hey, it's your dreams,
right? Like living the luxury side, but also having the hey, look, it's okay to tone it down and be with horses and the rodeo side.
Yeah.
The other thing is, like, I used to do rodeo, so that's why I'm like,
oh really?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, I used to do bell racing when I was growing up, so.
Oh my God. Wow. No, I think it's totally fun. I think it's why not? Like, life is your oyster. You can have and do whatever you want. And as long as you're loving and kind and caring, and the cool thing about like cool cars is like you could use those to inspire the youth. Go to car shows, give people rides, let them turn it on, let them rev it, and then they get inspired, and then you can be like, yeah, if I can do it, you could do it. Like, that's what I used the car for. When I first got the car, I was like, more me, and then I was like, okay, this is cool, and then now it's even cooler to share it and give someone a ride and let someone else experience it. And I think that you're definitely on the road to that path because you're already in real estate. You're already making it happen. At least you, compared to so many people out there, and no disrespect to anyone, just you know what you want. So get clear out there what you want, and now you're here, and you get this experience. We're about to go have some fun with the GTR right now, right? So you're already, I feel like proximity, you're starting to bring that into your existence. Manifesting. I like that.
It happens somehow. Once again, we don't know how the road's gonna go, but there's somehow gonna happen.
Somehow, some way, it's gonna happen, and also it's gonna happen for you.